You know, humans were a quirky bunch, always trying to decode patterns and uncover meaning in everything under the sun. Even the tiniest change in the mix can totally flip the script. So buckle up, because today on Mindscape, we're diving deep into what we like to call the butterfly effect. Back in 1952, this author dude named Ray Bradbury dropped a short story called A Sound of Thunder. So in this tale, there's this hunter named Eccles who drops a hefty $10,000 to roll with Time Safari, this time travel company that hooks folks up to head back to dino times for some T-Rex hunting action. But get this, there are zero guarantees, no safety net or return ticket. It's all about strict rules and guidelines for how to behave when you're chilling in the past. They're like, stay on the designated path, don't touch anything, and only shoot when we say so. Why all the fuss? Well, apparently messing with anything in the past could totally jack up the future beyond repair. Like, step on a bug and it's like leaving a permanent mark on history. So these guys are super cautious about not messing with the natural order of things. They're out to take down this T-Rex that's supposed to meet its end under a falling tree. But Eccles, man, he freaks out and bolts back to the time machine, leaving the others behind. Now, when they all finally make it back to their present day, things are off. The dude at the time machine spot seems different, and there's this weird smell lingering. Even the sign on the wall ain't right. Eccles starts sweating bullets, checking himself for any potential screw-ups. Lo and behold, there's this dead butterfly stuck to his boot, and it hits him like a ton of bricks. Turns out that butterfly's demise somehow messed with the future big time. Eccles is pleading for a do-over, but before you know it, bam! Thunder roars, and well, that's the end of that story. So back in the day, people used to think that only big, earth-shattering events like massive bombs or gigantic earthquakes could really shake up the world, you know. But now, we've come to realize that this old-school perspective is, well, pretty outdated. Turns out, it's the little things that can have the biggest impact. There's this concept called the butterfly effect, which basically says that even the smallest change in one situation can lead to major consequences down the line. Now, this whole idea was first talked about by a dude named Edward Lorenz back in the 1950s. He was a meteorologist trying to predict the weather, and he stumbled upon something pretty wild during his experiments. See, he was messing around with different numbers trying to make sense of weather patterns when he noticed something interesting. In one experiment, he used this super precise initial condition with 6 significant digits, or 50127. But then, thinking it might be a bit much, he decided to simplify things and use just 3 significant digits in another trial, 0506. Now here's where it gets crazy. When he checked back after stepping out for a coffee break, he found that these tiny differences in the starting conditions led to wildly different outcomes. Like, we're talking completely different weather forecasts here. A minuscule 0.03% change in values ended up having this massive ripple effect. It might sound like no big deal, just a couple of numbers in a model, right? But Lorenz realized he'd stumbled onto something game-changing. That's where chaos theory comes into play. Now, don't let the name fool you. Chaos theory isn't all about, well, chaos. It's more about understanding how even the smallest tweaks can cause huge shifts in outcomes. The butterfly effect isn't about disorder. It's about the power of tiny changes and how they play out in the grand scheme of things. Picture this. It's actually easier to forecast the orbit of a planet in some far-off star system millions of years from now than it is to predict the weather on our own turf just a month down the road. Crazy, right? To nail down long-term weather forecasts, we'd need to have an insanely precise grasp on the position and momentum of every single molecule of air on Earth, plus how they all interact with each other. Now, when it comes to planetary orbits, it's a whole different ballgame. Way fewer variables to juggle. I mean, any old physics student could probably crunch the numbers for that. But with the weather, it's a whole different story. See, even the tiniest little thing, like a butterfly flapping its wings, sets off this chain reaction of changes in atmospheric pressure. And those changes, they stack up over time until bam, you've got a tornado ripping through Texas. This snowball effect of errors is what we call deterministic chaos. Sounds fancy, right? But all it means is that chaos that's sort of predictable. But here's the kicker. That butterfly, it's just a symbol of the unpredictable. We can't pinpoint exactly how it leads to a tornado. There are just too many factors at play. Think about it. Every choice you've ever made has ripple effects. Like a bunch of falling dominoes. Our world, it's like this intricate network, and when one part of it goes haywire, it throws everything else out of whack. But here's where it gets really interesting. Chaos theory, despite its name, isn't actually about randomness. Nope, it's about finding order in the chaos. Now here's the kicker. While physics and math are all about predictability, the butterfly effect flips the script. It shines a light on the flaws in our models, saying, hey, without perfect knowledge of how things start, your predictions are basically shots in the dark. But here's the beauty of it. It also reminds us of the impact every little thing, yes, even a butterfly, can have on the big old world around us. Alright, let's ponder on something mind-blowing for a moment. Jonas Salk, the guy who discovered the first polio vaccines, you know? Well, if he hadn't stumbled upon that breakthrough when he did, our world today would be a whole different ballgame. Think about it. Entire family trees could have been snipped off, and some of the biggest companies we know might not even exist. Then there's this wild tale from the Cuban Missile Crisis. Picture this: a Russian sub, armed to the teeth with nukes, lurking off the coast of Cuba. American ships start dropping depth charges thinking they're sending a signal. But the sub's crew, they take it as a declaration of war. It's about to go down until one guy, Vasily Arkhipov, steps in and says, "Hold up, let's think this through." His call prevents World War III from blowing us all to kingdom come. This butterfly effect, it's everywhere. Makes you wonder, do we really have control over our lives? Every little bit of it? Not really. Every move we make, every choice, it's like tossing pebbles into a pond, creating ripples that stretch out far and wide. Imagine it like a game of Jenga. You pluck out one block, no biggie. But there's always that one block, that linchpin that can bring the whole tower crashing down. The thing is, we never know which move will change our fate. Take this moment, for instance. You watching this video, spending these minutes with me, it's all part of the puzzle. Who knows? Maybe it kept you from leaving the house early, dodging a reckless driver at an intersection. Sounds spooky, but it's a possibility. And get this, small actions can spark big changes. From the birth of stars to the formation of iron, it's all interconnected. We're just tiny specks in this grand tapestry of existence, playing our part in the cosmic dance. Without iron, we couldn't exist. Every day you breathe, I hope, and when you exhale carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, through the help of plants and photosynthesis, creates more oxygen. The oxygen that people hundreds of years from now might breathe. Everything you do, no matter how small it is, will change the future in one way or another. People who lived hundreds of years ago have had an effect on the world as it is today. Take Jonas Salk's polio vaccine or Vasily Arkhipov's decisive action during the Cuban Missile Crisis. These pivotal moments shaped our world in ways we can't fully grasp. So the next time something big happens in your life, just think, it didn't happen by accident. Even if you watch this video, it has some meaning, a grand scheme that needed you to have this knowledge. Like, share, subscribe, and hit that ring icon so you unravel the most unusual mysteries of the universe with Mindscape.